Well, good morning, everybody. Grand Rising, and welcome to the Morning Update Show. I am your co-host, Trey Holiday. It is August 13th. We are moving through the month of August very smoothly, and we have a great lineup for you guys, as always. We've got to give a good shout out to all the producers working on this show and getting these clips together so we can pull together a nice, concise show for you guys. And you know I gotta do this every day. Throw it over to my guy, Big O. Hi, happy Thursday.
What's up? Happy Thursday to you.
Happy Thursday, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good, and you can't forget the directors over here either.
That's right. There we go.
And social team, and producers always get all the shine.
Oh,
we can't forget about the directors. And actually, today we got Daryl. Daryl's directing today, so it's good to see you, DQ.
Yeah.
Doing his thing.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. What's up with you?
Hey, you know what, man? Ready to get this day going. Got a long day. You know what I'm saying? Excited for the day as always, man.
Unfortunately, by the time that I hit this set, I've already been up for like 6 hours.
Oh my goodness.
So my day has been going for a minute, man. Got a lot of different stuff in the show today. I'll talk about a lot of different things. Want to give a big shout out. Our audience continues to expand even beyond the city of Seattle, beyond our neighborhood, beyond the Central District, beyond the South End. Continues to expand beyond Seattle. Viewership is definitely growing out in Snohomish County and Pierce County. So again, big shout out to everybody that's out there in Everett and Tacoma and in between. But also other parts, we're getting people creeping in from Portland, from Yakima. Big shout out to Yakima, Vegas, Tri-Cities, Spokane, Spokompton. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Looks like the state is tuning in, so we definitely appreciate your viewership and want to invite you to make sure tag and share if you got this stream right here. Share it with somebody who's never heard of the Morning Update Show. I think it's a good platform for people to just kind of get a mix of what's going on here in the Emerald City.
Absolutely, man. I just got to send a shout out to my girl, Victoria Jew. Thank you for putting people on. I appreciate that. She just did a post today, or yesterday, hey, you guys need to check this show out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and this is day number 3, Nikki?
New studio.
This is day number. Wow, it seems like a month. Day number 3 right here in our new studio. Like I said, we're coming up. They're making different plans for sets and everything like that. When we have it together, we're definitely gonna let the public know, so you can track the progress and support if that's what you would like to do. Oh, and I got something going on today.
Yeah.
What's cracking? I get a shot over here, Daryl, onto my camera. I got my cracking shirt right here. Thanks to Bobby Steels, the postman. The postman is still delivering. It's like, Bobby, I need some more shirts for this set. And he was like, we're gonna get it cracking. So yeah, big shout out to the Kraken. And hopefully we'll be speaking to Everett Fitzhugh here shortly. We're trying to get an interview with him. He's the broadcaster over there for the Seattle Kraken.
Oh, wow.
Speaking of sports, unfortunately, the M's took another L last night down there in Texas. They lost 4-7 to the Texas Rangers. They fall to 7-13. They got a day off today to rest up, and then they're going to go take on the Astros. But hey, tomorrow's a new day.
I love your attitude, man. Keep it positive, baby.
Always when it comes to the Mariners, man. It's always positive. So big news, especially for parents who have children in Seattle Public Schools. There's over 55,000 students in the Seattle Public School District. And they made an announcement yesterday that what we all expected, Seattle Public Schools will go online. But there's a lot of open questions as to how exactly things operate. And then as Brandon Hersey, Director Hersey and Director DeWolf talked about when we did a special a few weeks ago, they're still pushing for outdoor classroom and things like that. And we're actually gonna have Director Hersey an interview with him probably tomorrow afternoon. But here's a clip right here from King 5, their coverage of the decision from the Seattle School Board in regards to taking classes online.
Well, the school board voted unanimously to move forward with remote learning. It is a big step forward. But there's still a lot of unanswered questions about the plan's specifics. Here's what we know at this point. Take a look. Bottom line, plan on having your kids log on from home to attend classes. The district must still determine how many hours a day students will use video chat services. What will grades be like? We still don't know. Will there be special consideration for special ed students? And the teachers union must still agree to the new work expectations. Still a lot of questions. It is the students and the parents that remain caught in the middle of this. I spoke to one single mother of 5 today who is clearly still very frustrated by this situation.
It terrifies me to know that my children are going to have to go to just remote learning. It hurts me that my baby, his first way into school, it's going to have to be over a computer.
And that's a feeling that a lot of parents can relate to. And look at some of the preliminary plans. Again, these have not been signed off on, but this is what a kindergarten through 3rd grade schedule could look like. Note, at 7:55, the student is required to check in virtually with several more check-ins throughout the day. The superintendent saying that at this point, learning in person, well, it's just not an option.
I cannot, in good conscience, ask our staff, students, and community to be in spaces together that could increase the risk of COVID transmission.
The board also voted to start looking into possibly holding classes outside. That's a process that they'll start. The state requires them to submit a plan 2 weeks before the first day of school. That's just 1 week away.
Again,
in Seattle.
From King 5. Triana, you have school-age children. What's the story with this online?
Man, I'll tell you this right now. My 14-year-old at the end of last year, it didn't serve him well at all. We're in the Federal Way School District, so we're not Seattle, but his school didn't have any specifics for him. It was like, it was kind of like, well, it's optional to log into the Zoom. Like, okay, just do your stuff and turn it in. It was like, it was too loose. And I think that they're really working hard to try to make it more solidified now. But I'm not too sure about the system. So for me, my kids will be doing like private learning.
Right. And private learning, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
is that like code for homeschooling or what? Well, I guess it's already homeschooling through the internet, but
it really is, but I like working with specific educators. So Catrice Dennis is amazing. She's out there in the Federal Way area. She comes with culturally responsive practices around education. So my 6-year-old has been going to her since he really started school. And now I may be having my 14-year-old go sit in and get straight up lessons, because this is very difficult for a parent to decide what's going to be best for their child.
And also, we see in the Seattle School District, talking to parents around this issue right here, which we've been covering for a while, is like anything else, it comes down to a lot of the haves and the have-nots, because there's parents who have access to resources, parents who are able to get tutors and things like that and supplement education, and then there's parents who cannot.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're going to talk to Director Hersey tomorrow, get his thoughts. But because you can see from the clip there by King 5, there's still, a lot of things that are undecided.
Yeah, and this is why for me, I love being able to research what's going on in our city. Shout out to the staff over at Rainier Valley Leadership Academy. It's a charter-based school, but that's another option for my 14-year-old, because they have, they're taking students still. They're still enrolling kids, but yet what they're doing is they're doing a very robust online program where every student gets a laptop. They're ensuring that students have internet access. So there's a lot, there could be a lot more done to ensure that this online transition isn't so rough.
And I'm pretty sure, I don't have all the details right here, and we'll have Director Hersey fill us in. I'm pretty sure they're not going to leave the students hanging. They're going to provide the tools and everything else. It's just the dynamics in the city they're wide ranging. From parents who, a lot of them are essential workers and are working 2 and 3 jobs, and they're not necessarily there at home to provide guidance, all the way to people who have a household where both parents are at home and whatever. So
wide-ranging.
We'll see where it goes from there. Next thing is Forbes published an article here, and you can put that up on the screen, Daryl, and leave the audio open. Forbes COVID crisis has wiped out nearly half of small black businesses. And they're talking about here, the research they did back in April. This is back in April. They're saying that black business was more than twice as likely to shutter than their white counterparts. And nationally, all small black business owners fell by 41% in April. Latinx, 32%, and Asian businesses, 26%. White businesses fell 17%. These numbers are from April, so you can only imagine what it is right now. Lots of different factors in this article that they talk about as to why. Some are existing conditions that are out there, and other things are relationship with banks and access to the, to PPP loans. And a lot of times black businesses are already, teetering. It's a solopreneur type situation. So COVID has definitely, and this article is right there in Forbes, COVID has definitely decimated small black business across America, 100%. Just wiped out so many small black businesses that won't return.
Yeah, the thing is that we were saying this back then when they were giving all this relief. We needed to follow the money. It's so evident, once again, we really were ascertaining this back then, that we knew the money wasn't trickling into the communities that really needed it the most. We knew how this kind of power dynamic and that kind of top-down trickle effect was going to really touch our communities and our businesses. And so, to be honest, it's unfortunate that I'm not even surprised by these numbers. I'm not surprised by these statistics. And again, we know economic pandemics are going to affect communities of opportunity the most. And they've done that time and time again, if you look at the numbers and the statistics.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things when you think about it. Black businesses are failing at double the rate. Black people are unemployed at double the rate. Black people are dying in a lot of counties at double the rate. So I mean, COVID is just impacting the black community all across America, and it's tragic. Next up, last night, I was sitting here minding my own business, and it was actually a city employee who was like, "Hey, do you know what's going on up in Cal Anderson?" And I was like, "No, I'm minding my business here, working." And he brought me up there to Cal Anderson Park, and what we saw there. Could you go ahead and put this video up, Daryl? You let me know when it's going. Oh, okay. So got up to Cal Anderson Park, and what's happened is that a lot of people that we saw there, a lot of homeless or transitional or unsheltered people that we saw there during CHOP, when CHOP was there, have returned, and they're occupying the shelter area there at Cal Anderson Park. And they've actually put out a list of demands. It's kind of lengthy here, but some of the demands they talk about is all gender bathroom and showers, toilets and laundry facility. They want health management resources, on-site crisis intervention team, mental health professionals, substance use disorder professionals, designated crisis responders. They want transgender protection resources, on-site legal name change, mobile phone plans, overdose prevention resources, quite a few things over there. And this is a group of different kind of organizations or groups that popped up during the chopper right around it, over there, Riot Kitchen and things like that are kind of facilitating the efforts of the homeless people that are over there at the shelter. Now, my understanding was last night, the people there said that SPD was supposed to come and sweep it today at 11 a.m. I don't know. I think Bobby can call and get an update on that, call up to the Hill and see. But if the SPD doesn't sweep them out today, this might be an opportunity for the superintendent of parks and the superintendent of human services. I mean, clearly it's in the park. So it might be an opportunity for the superintendent of parks, especially Parks Department is saying they're trying to work on re-envisioning Cal Anderson Park. And clearly, I was there last night. It's quite a few people who are in need of human services, one way or another. And it might not necessarily be a situation where the police need to sweep people out where it's swept back in. Maybe some of these people could be addressed by existing infrastructure that's there within human services, and what parks can do. But you know how it is. I mean, I saw it, and so you guys see it, and it's like I said, there's quite a few people who were there back when the CHOP was there, and they're okay. So Bobby Stills, the postman, delivers the news again. So he says that they're still there. And the who? Oh, okay. And so yeah, it's being watched closely by SPD as it was last night as well. So again, this might be an opportunity for the superintendent of parks and for the director of human services to kind of see what's going on. It might not necessarily have to get dropped right to the police for the police to take action. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. We don't make those kind of calls, but I do see an opportunity maybe for the city. Maybe these are people that fell through the cracks. The city was trying to reach a lot of people.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
And I think that you are right to talk about maybe some different measures here. Again, this is what reimagining policing looks like, right? Where the police are not the first responders to be called for every situation. And I think that this presents another opportunity to do something innovative that is different. And, the director of human services, the director of the superintendent of parks, my thing is that there's a whole staff, right? Get people out there to start building relationships, building connections. What is it these people need?
And also, if
How
the
can they be served?
the police sweep that, this is an interesting thing that's occurring right now, especially with this defund vote that's happened and everything else, because one of the things about defund was moving the police away from navigation team anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, this might be a precursor of how these kind of situations look in Seattle moving forward. Is it still going to be the police responsibility when there's a homeless encampment to move the homeless people out? But they said they wanted the police off the navigation team. So, in that case, who's going to go up there? And this is also, maybe it's an opportunity for community organizations. If you're a community organization out there that specializes in dealing with this marginalized portion of our society, this might be an opportunity over here for you to intercede as well, as this is a developing situation up there on Capitol Hill at Cal Anderson Park.
Yeah, and I think too that, our city is also seeing, we've been talking about this, a lot of polarization. We know this in terms of income inequalities, income gaps, and seeing these homeless encampments come up and pop up so quickly, the way that they build and form, that's another kind of pandemic happening in our city. There is not enough affordable living spaces for folks, and that's a big issue.
All right. Well, I guess that was the perfect setup for our next clip right here. On the flip side of the homeless issue and what's going on with the homeless here in Seattle, especially the chronic homeless experiencing homelessness during COVID, Mayor Durkin, the city of Seattle, the Office of Housing had a presser yesterday, made an announcement yesterday that the city of Seattle is investing in 600 units across the city to provide housing for those suffering from chronic homelessness, especially those that are Black and Native. Those have the highest numbers of people with some of the smallest. When we see the clip here, I think that it said Native American makes it 1%, but 30% of the homeless, and African Americans 7% of the population and 12% of the homeless. So the city made another big step yesterday. They pulled some money out of a levy. It was voted on by the voters, $60 million to support 6 buildings up across the city. Why don't you play this for us, Daryl?
Because we continue to be in the global pandemic, which has been the greatest public health crisis in 100 years, it has been particularly hard, not just on our communities of color, but also on our vulnerable communities, like our homeless neighbors. Our neighbors who are living outdoors and in shelters have felt the brunt of this crisis. We're doing all we can at the city and county level to try to make sure that we stop the spread of the virus, but what we need is more housing, which is why today is so exciting. For years, our neighbors living outdoors have been the most vulnerable from economic downturns to public health crisis. And we know that the COVID-19 virus has exacerbated this. Because of the systemic racism, our Black, Indigenous, and communities of color are also overrepresented in our homeless population. They suffer during these times more acutely from the health effects of COVID, from the economic impacts, and because they are disproportionately represented in our homeless community. 3,300 people are considered chronically homeless, and of that number, 12% are Black, while they're only 7% of our population. 32% are Indigenous, while they make only 1% of our population. For a city named for a great chief, that's wrong on so many levels.
Today, as part of our city's COVID response, we're making a significant investment in the development of new permanent supportive housing. 599 service-enriched apartments for individuals experiencing homelessness in 6 buildings across the city. We are investing roughly $60 million from the Seattle Housing Levy to build permanent supportive housing, which, as the mayor said, is the proven solution to homelessness, particularly chronic homelessness. And so I'm pleased to announce today's awardees: Chief Seattle Club for their building in Lake City with 125 units, DESC, a building in Bitter Lake with 100 units, DESC in Green Lake with a building with 124 units, Inland Group in partnership with Catholic Housing Services in Greenwood with 66 units, and Inland Group in partnership with Plymouth Housing in Ballard with 81 units, and a conditional funding award to the Low Income Housing Institute in the Central area with 103.
All right, so we heard there from Mayor Durkin and also Emily Alvarado.
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity to actually meet and speak with Emily Alvarado some months ago when in the city of Seattle, I think it was like $212 million or something like that in affordable housing investment. And actually, I'm going to speak to Emily Alvarado again later on today, and we'll air that segment tomorrow. You've had some experience working with the Office of Housing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there was a big, amazing cry from the community when Emily got that position. I think a lot of folks had worked with her in previous positions and understood a lot of her sentiment around affordable housing and the care for everyone in the Emerald City. I think that she really does embody that. And my interactions with her have been very, very pleasant. And, you know, I love somebody who's in a position who cares about the people at the end of the day.
Yeah, one thing that she does well is when she's presenting the awards, it's almost like, and she's like, an award for this and that, everything else. But so 6, and one of the things I want to talk to her about is that some of the organizations that she talked about right there, a lot of the general public might not know who they are and things like that. And you know, right now everybody's watching every dollar, $60 million. And so we want to give them an opportunity to explain, like, okay, these are the people, these are why we're selected, this is why this is a good program, and everything else. And we'll be following that up.
That's great, man. I mean, again, this is the kind of insight that most people don't get. We talk about major media all the time. They just don't have the opportunity and the time or the capacity to dig deep into these kinds of community stories. So I'm so glad that you're going to be able to follow up with Emily.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Definitely. Housing is a very big issue in this city. Clearly, I mean, Converge, we can't cover everything, but issues around housing. You hear the numbers. African Americans make up a very big portion of people who are homeless or unhoused here in the city. So it's a direct impact on our community. So I always want to follow up on housing things. Back to the national headlines. Joe and Kamala. No, so you've had a little bit to let it sink in. What are you thinking?
I mean, again,
they said we went off yesterday.
we really have talked about, this particular race right here for the presidency.
We've been talking about this one since the morning show started.
Yeah, I mean, really, and we know. I mean, I think in our communities, I hear the chatter a lot. Joe does not excite anyone. He's not people are not championing Joe Biden like, I'm going for Joe. I think there's a lot of kind of anti-Trump discourse happening, and so Biden is inherently going to be the recipient of those votes. But I think adding someone like Kamala Harris, like, to me, it's a smart move. I mean, he already did a smart move by just kind of putting it out there. He was going to go with a woman. A lot of chatter in the ethos before he said, he was going to go with a black woman. So much chatter about the woman he was going to choose. And then to land there, one of my political strategist friends told me this looked like this was orchestrated by Michelle Obama. She probably knew exactly what she was doing to have Kamala in the race and then drop out at that particular time. So again, there's a lot of strategy involved with politics, but I'm settling in that I'm liking this choice.
A lot of strategery, huh?
Yeah,
As W used to say, it's strategery going on out here, huh? Well, what we're kind of finding is that there's people who are. So, are you personally excited about Biden picking Kamala Harris?
I mean,
is it now excited you?
Yeah, it's
or
resonating with me in a way where I'm like, that's a good choice. You know what I mean? I'm hoping for great things. Again, I'm a black woman. To see a black woman as our vice president, I'm not going to lie, that does excite me. I mean, it was like Obama getting into office where you're just like, man, at least there's some forward progress here, at least a little bit, right?
Right. And well, the thing is that a lot of states, they're definitely going to need a black turnout at the polls, and so maybe that's where thinking like with Kamala Harris. But we talk about this fracture, this divide in the black community, especially right now, and especially what's going on here in America. And Kamala Harris, she brings some baggage with her in some people's eyes, going into the position there as vice president. And so, like I said, I think it's you can't really consider the black vote monolithic anymore. Right. A generation ago, it was whoever the pastor said, get up in front of the church, whoever the pastor said we need to support, whoever guys went on national TV and said support, but the black vote is full of so many independent thinkers. I think that one of the big concerns right now is, and what people should realize is that what a lot of people are trying to do is say, at least on the Democratic side, is they're saying is, man, whether this ticket excites you or not, you need to get out and vote for all the local things that impact you. I mean, a lot of stuff. Well, right now, of course, the COVID, the pandemic is a lot of things are moving around the federal government, but look how many things here impact us on a local level. Absolutely. And so when people are just disaffected by either candidate, they're like, I'm not gonna vote for Trump, I'm not gonna vote for Biden, I'm just not gonna vote. They don't really realize the impact on the local level. For anything from a school board to a city council, to a mayor, to different initiatives and everything else. But what I was able to do is I was able to reach out to my brother, and you'll see here in this clip, who's over at Herb Vote, but also a candidate in the 37th district for seat number 2. And I kind of posed the question to Shakundi, to Kun, about Kamala Harris' pick and how he thinks that's going to impact the local vote, whether it's going to energize or polarize the people turning out to the polls to impact local elections. So here's that segment right here. All right, here with the big fella himself, my brother, Shakundi Salisbury, also a candidate for the 37th district here in Seattle. What's up, bro?
I'm gonna need you to start saying my big brother. I'm just saying. So you can, I'll say big brother, and you can say good looking brother. How about that? Will that work? Maybe.
All right, so literally you got your Herb Vote hat on today.
But big news on the national front. Joe Biden selected Kamala Harris as his running mate. Big news nationally, but also in the Black community across America and also here in Seattle. I noticed that you were out in the community kind of talking to people about their vibe on it, because a national election definitely impacts the turnout of a local election, and Herb votes about getting people out here locally to the polls. What's the temperature on the street in the community, and specifically the Black community, about the selection of Kamala Harris?
It's real fractured. I mean, I talked to a couple of people earlier last night, where, folks are super excited about this election. African-American woman, a Black woman on the ticket. I mean, I've seen, lots of, sororities. A lot of sororities are coming to and making memes where they're talking about how we're coming together. And then I've seen the flip side of it, where people are saying, man, I'm not voting for the police. Right. And so
police, Kamala.
Yeah, because, as you know, and I'm sure the listeners know that and anybody that's really following her through the campaign, she is a former prosecutor. And, that's always going to, follow that. That means that she is, in fact, maybe a law and order candidate, or at least people's perception at this point is that she will be, a law and order. And of course, law and order, it's the opposite of what many people in our community.
Joe Biden came out and said that he's not for defund, and clearly that his vice president's pick is going to be in line with what his vision on it. And we see that a lot of people in the street across America are very big on like defund and other social justice issues. And so is that what you mean? Kind of like there's a fracturing, that you have like Black fraternities and sororities, church groups and things like that are super excited. And maybe you've got other people who are very heavy right now in seeing social change in the streets that feel that, like you said, she might very well be a law and order pick for Biden.
Well, yeah, and nobody wants to go back to stop and frisk and all of those types of things. So there are people that are having, images and concerns about that. But again, the flip side is there's so much energy, so much excitement. The first African-American, the Black woman on the ticket. And so, the work for us at Herb Vote, right, is really to, relay the fact that regardless of which side you are on this. So first of all, the one thing is that it is not, I think a lot of other folks think that, wow, okay, we got a Black candidate, that's going to galvanize the Black community. That is not true at all.
It's not like that no more.
Yeah, it is really not. And I think that, just to be frank, I think that's something that white people always think that, oh, yeah, okay, Black people, we are not a monolithic thing, and we're not going to all fall under one particular tent, right? And so, the challenge for us is out here registering people to vote and engagement across, obviously King County and beyond with Herb Vote is to, kind of speak the message of wherever you fall in on this, you do in fact need to vote, because, your vote does matter. And there's a lot of local pieces that are on the ballot, right? And so what I've been talking to people about, honestly, is for example, the King County Sheriff being an appointed position that will in fact be on the ballot this fall, right? And so, if you're opting out of the national election because of your protest, around Kamala Harris, and you are in fact not voting on a very important issue around the King County Sheriff's Office, right? And so I've been trying to connect, voters to, especially our local community, the urban community, if you will, because we're Herb Vote, on these connections. And then there's always these light bulb moments. Oh, well, yeah, I guess I better vote then. And I'm like, yeah, of course. So, that's what's going on, is that, there's a lot of fractures. People are not at all united behind the first African-American, vice president or national ticket. However, there's so many local issues that we're able to still tie people in.
Right. And I think that people more than ever, especially here in the Emerald City, King County and beyond, realize that it's like, for the most part, all politics are local. What we're seeing play out right now in the city, and the consternation here has a lot to do around our local elected officials and the people that they appoint.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really coming to, I mean, regardless of what side you are on. I mean, I know that obviously I'm a candidate myself. However, in my role as Herb Vote, I'm really speaking to people, no matter what side you are on all of these issues. It's really coming down to right now is a great time for local politics, because no matter what side of the equation you are on the city council, defund, Chief Best, all of the things that's happened in the news cycle here in the last week, it's all coming down to our elected officials. And the question is, did you in fact vote for them or not? And will you be voting in the future? And so regardless of where your opinion is, people are galvanized around the fact that, well, wait a minute, I need to be voting. However, this national piece has knocked some people off, and we're bringing them back on center and reminding them of these local connections.
All right, man, real quick, how do people reach Herbvote?
Yeah, I mean, we're at herbvote.org, URBVOTE. .org. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram and Twitter, URBVOTE, Herb Vote, the Urban Vote Project. And, just a great plug to King County Elections and the Seattle Foundation for funding our work and letting us reach the community.
All right, so we got this agreement now. I'm calling you the big brother, and you're calling me who?
You're breaking up.
You see?
You're breaking up.
We'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, one love.
You see this guy? I called him the big brother. You can't call me the good-looking brother. You still breaking up. I'm breaking up. But I think the CUD actually did a pretty good job there in putting out there right here in Seattle and even nationwide, the dynamic that's out there going into this presidential election. But irregardless of how people feel about the presidential election, people got to remember that there's a lot of, that's just one vote to cast. There's a lot of other things that are on the ballot in November. So voting, no matter if you're voting right, left, indifferent, up or down, make sure that you get out and vote, because it's a lot of stuff that impacts us here on the everyday in Seattle, King County, across the state of Washington.
Absolutely. I mean, now is the time. We've been saying it, man, take your stake back in this country. Absolutely.
That's it. Your vote, definitely, that's your stakeholder. That's what it represents. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, though, you guys might remember it was a few weeks ago that the ACLU filed a lawsuit, amongst many, against the city of Seattle and the Seattle Police Department. And me personally and ConvergeMedia, we were in the narrative of the document that the ACLU filed. And I reached out to the ACLU. I was like, yo, man, you guys could have told me that you're putting me by name and our company by name into your court filing. And at least let us know what was going on. Had a long back and forth with the ACLU, and at the end of it, if you might remember, I was like, okay, well, it is what it is, but it would be good for somebody from the ACLU to come on and explain to people who are out here, citizen journalists, people who are going live to Facebook and everything else, what exactly are their rights, if any rights, what can happen with your footage once it's out there and everything else. So when we come back, we're going to play this segment that we recorded with Molly from the ACLU. You are watching the Morning Update Show.
There's a lot going on. Are you ready? Ready to feel better, look better, be better? Drink water. Be ready for a pickup game. Insta-frame to work hard towards your aim? Drink water. Hydrate. Hydrate to invest in yourself. Cut down on sugar. Invest in your health. Imagine the possibilities and reach your potential. Who knows what's next? Be ready, Be hydrated.
Do you want to represent your city? Now you can. The City of Seattle's Democracy Voucher Program is now open. Candidates interested in using democracy vouchers to help finance their campaign for 2021 may begin qualifying now. In 2021, the mayor, city attorney, and the 2 city council at-large positions will be on the ballot. The Democracy Voucher Program has $6.8 million available for local candidates to fund their campaigns. Running a competitive campaign can be costly, and access to funding can serve as a barrier to entry for potential candidates. The Seattle Ethics and Elections Commission is offering one-on-one trainings for potential candidates who want to explore how to access the democracy vouchers. Interested candidates can contact the Democracy Voucher Program at 206-727-8855 or email democracyvoucher@seattle.gov. For more information, you can also visit seattle.gov/democracyvoucher.
So, I mean, I couldn't like grab your footage and use it to make a commercial for sneakers or something, right? There's some protections against other people using your footage to profit from it. But basically anybody can, you know, copy the URL and say, just share it, right? And it's really common for lawyers to cite to news media, both like traditional print media, TV, and new stuff from citizen journalists to just educate judges about what's happening, especially when it's a really quickly evolving situation. Because journalists, you know, at their best are like respected because of their neutrality and because their whole job is to accurately document what's happening. So in addition to getting actual statements from people who are at the July 25th protests, we cited a lot of news media sources about what was happening, just to tell Judge Jones, like, this is why we need to get some clarity on what that order means. Here's what dozens of different people said was happening, including you.
Right. And so in speaking of that though, is so for Converge and for me personally, I didn't say ACLU, here's my footage. ACLU didn't contact me before you put the footage in there. Does a streamer have any recourse once they've put something out there in the public domain? Can a streamer be like, well, hey, I don't want my footage used in X, Y, or Z? I understand that, like channel 4, channel 7, or channel 13, they call me and say, hey, you know what? Can we use this footage? But it seems like there's other spaces, like going to court, as you mentioned here, where even if someone doesn't per se want their footage used, it's out in the public. I'm just trying to get a clarity of like, what is the public space? Once you press live, it's like it's yours, but it's not yours anymore.
Sure. Yeah, there's something called fair use that basically means you don't get total control over your content once you put it out into the world. You can definitely prevent commercial entities from using it to profit from it. You can't say, no, you can't share this link to, you know, once you've made it public. If someone were to like accuse you of something and cite your footage as evidence that you had done something that it didn't really show, you know, there are defamation laws that deal with like when people lie about you. But it's really common. I mean, we don't call the Seattle Times before we cite their pieces in court either, right?
All right, so there it is right there. Molly Tack Hooper from ACLU, Washington State. And I will say this, that so she explained that, oh, okay, thank you, Bobby. You got me now? Molly Tack Hooper of the ACLU of Washington State. And what was explained right there is that if you're out there, whether you're just a hobbyist, whatever you might catch, you could just be at the park, minding your own business, something's caught on your live stream, It's out there. Someone can't go and just profit off your live stream, but they can definitely cite it, put it in court case, reference it, and everything else. And I think that a lot of us here have seen, because we go live every day for this show, but as far as actual live coverage or streaming, it's a whole nother even space for us. But there's also a difference as well, though, as someone citing your work and someone writing you into their narrative. Yeah. So I want to make sure if there's any streamers out there, hobbyist, citizen journalist terms being used, as there's also a difference as well between here's the link and you being written into someone's narrative. So I think we'll take a break right here.
All right.
When we come back, man, this guy Calligraphy, I mean, he went from being like an introvert to he's all over the place. This good for business segments that he's doing is blowing up. People are hitting us up all the time. Matter of fact, you got a business out there. Calligraphy likes to eat, by the way. So he's been doing some other stuff. I saw him over there twerking. And they put it on the clip. They were like, "You're next, oh my friend." I don't think so. Just a spectator sport for me. But Eric Calligraphy's been making the rounds. And if you have a business out there, send us an email, info@whereweconverge.com. We'll send Eric Calligraphy, one of the producers out there. And like I said, he loves to eat, by the way. He does other stuff, but Eric. This episode, coming up after the break, he checked in with a Central District legend who's around us all the time, actually. And sometimes we got to recognize people that are in the mix with us a lot. ProofNThePlay.
Oh man, my brother, man, I'm telling you, it's so funny.
You're related to everybody in the CD.
No, hey, let me tell you something. No, me and Proof, we go way, way back because Proof was in the reserves. And then when he got out of the reserves, he came back into the CD. We were down, me and my cousin in the Valley, and me and Proof met because we went to Seattle Central together. And literally, Proof's like, man, it's because of you, Trey, that I know all my hood connects, all my people in the hood, they embrace me because I was with y'all.
You're the hood connector.
I'm like, hey, you ask him, he will tell you.
All right, that's what's up. I think we're getting a note here real quick.
She will tell us.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
They're telling us no break.
She let us know what to do.
It's the whip. It's Nikki Barron back there been running the show.
Yeah, she knows what's up.
All right, well, this is good. So right here, then we're gonna go right into this clip. This is Eric Calligraphy with another edition here of Good for Business, and he's sitting with ProofNThePlay.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Eric Calligraphy, and welcome to another episode of That's Good for Business. And today, I'm sitting here chilling with my main man, ProofNThePlay. How you doing today, brother?
What's going on, man? I can't complain. Sun's out, baby.
Yeah, man. So today, I want to ask you, what is ProofNThePlay Productions?
ProofNThePlay Productions is a photography, videography production company, but a lot more than that. I mean, he's a voice for the people. He's always at community events trying to make sure we encouraging the young people to be best as possible. Also, I promote local businesses and things of that nature in our community on my local Roundup show.
Everybody, it's your main man, ProofNThePlay. ProofNThePlay Sports Network. It's the Roundup, baby. It gets no better than this. Northwest ESPN, yeah, that's me, your main man, ProofNThePlay. I shot you. You know where to be and line up in the moment. You got that alert. Tune in on your phone. It's the best part of your day when Proof is in the play. It's giving you the info that you need. He's a Northwest ESPN. Yes, Proof is in the building.
Roundup show is every morning, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. It gets no better than that, man. It's the Roundup. Northwest ESPN, we always cover all the local sports around here. But I'm gonna start trying to do more endeavors, so y'all gotta stay tuned. We shake shoulders on the Roundup, and we have a good time. We have dialogue, we round people up for dialogue, and that's what we do. So look me up on Facebook as well, ProofNThePlay, PROOF, the letter N, the play, baby.
Where did your passion for ProofNThePlay Productions come from?
Well, everything came from my camera. My camera saved my life.
Yeah.
I was going through a dark time at one time. You know, marriage doesn't go as well as
Yeah.
everybody planned, but I was just in a dark time, and the camera really saved my life. I had a little GoPro at first, and once I got my camera,
Yeah.
man, yeah.
I mean, that's
definitely.
crazy because you be on top of bus stops, you be on top of buildings just to get that right shot, man. That's
Man,
crazy.
I think I take more chances just because it's an adventure for me in my journey, and I think it feels good to me to make sure I get a shot that I feel good about. It's different when, you know, everybody else is trying to see your shot, but when you feel good about the shot, everybody else really doesn't matter. It feels good to you, you know what I mean? So once I know I got a good shot, I don't care where I'll jump on top of a bus stop at any given second, brother. That's a fact.
That's true. So what services exactly do you offer to the community, and how can we contact you?
So photography, I could do photo shoots. Videography, I can actually advertise your company as well. I can create a commercial if you want to create a commercial. I have apparel. You guys can always look me up on Instagram at ProofNThePlay, PROOF, the letter N, the play, baby.
Thank you, brother. It's always a great time when I'm hanging out with you. You see, I got one of your shirts on.
I mean, you got that long back. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
man, old school, man.
You know, I appreciate you though, always being my brother.
All day, man.
Through all our mistakes, we always gonna be brothers, so I appreciate it.
Man, thank you, brother. I'll see you soon.
Yes, sir.
All right.
It's your main man, ProofNThePlay. I shot you.
You know, Proof's real I thought I got animated on camera. He's real animated, but for people, you know, why he says the Northwest ESPN is like, so Proof, for years, he's been taking his camera out there and covering a lot of high school sports, little league football, so the CD Panthers coverage. So if you live in the Central District, you get your sports information through Proof. You're not really. I mean, it's so the bigger media is I mean, it's a tough job for them. I mean, you fit everything in 30 minutes, and I think this is like a way of the future. Where you see that it's like communities are kind of launching their own kind of platforms, and Proof is way ahead of everybody. Proof, how long? I should ask you. Proof, how many years have you been at it now?
Now it's a few years already under the belt of Proof,
quite a few
building
years.
that brand. Yeah.
And so with Proof, I mean, sports is tough right now because there's not a lot of sports with COVID, but also, you know, like you say, professional photography, videography, and I'm just trying to figure out who sang his intro song. Whose song is like, it's fire.
Yeah, man, it's ready. And again, you know, when you're connected to your community and you can see what we can pull out, we have a lot of creatives, a lot of creativity in our community. And I love that, man. I've been to his studio several times, and just when walking in, I'm just seeing, you know, people I know, because we're interviewing people that we grew up with who are doing amazing things. You know, our community really does have some hidden gems, man, and we pull them out, you know, with our own platforms now. We're not waiting on nobody to come, and, you know, we're not waiting on Fox, or, you know, he wasn't waiting on ESPN to cover CD Panthers games. He was like, this is important to our community. I'm coming out here.
Yeah, and if you're from the CD, you know the CD Panther games is important. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's big news for us every time they're playing. What else do we got here? I think we got we've rolled right directly into our we've rolled directly into our Melanin Magic moment here. And we actually first played this clip back when we were in Studio B.
Yes.
And it's about Fannie Lou Hamer. Do you know the phrase, the famous phrase that Fannie Lou Hamer coined?
Oh, I do. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Fannie Lou Hamer from Mississippi. I mean, worked tirelessly her whole career to do what we're talking about right now, get more people involved in the democratic process, get more people involved in voting and everything else. This is a trailer from the documentary, This Little Light, right here, and sheds just a little bit of light on the life and legacy of Fannie Lou Hamer.
I've heard several comments from people that was talking about with the people, for the people, and by the people. Being a black woman from Mississippi, I've learned that long ago that's not true. It's with a handful for a handful, by a handful. But we gonna change that, baby. We want to register to become first-class citizens.
We got to know each other, through the workshop, and Fannie Lou Hamer just emerged.
I had heard of Mrs. Hamer, and people were in awe of her, loved her.
Our lives be threatened daily.
Obviously, the linchpin of the changes in the rules of the Democratic National Convention reside in the testimony of Mrs. Hamer.
They knew they couldn't shut up Martin Luther King. They weren't paying any attention to who this woman might be. And I knew she was going to be more than Martin.
And if the Freedom Democratic Party is not seated now, I question America.
Mrs. Hamer still emerges to become a spokesperson for so many people who have been denied the right to participate in the American political system.
Is this America, the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Every time that I see this clip, it's almost like I think of a lot of our elders in our community here in the Central District. Mm-hmm. They're up in age, and they've been in this process for decades. I mean, you talk about somebody like Dr. Maxine Mims.
Right. I mean, absolutely. And this is why I love being surrounded by them, honestly. I mean, they are really guides and mentors for me. Dr. Maxine Mims, Kabibi Monet, Patricia Valentine.
Representative Mason.
Yeah, Representative Don Mason, Arisha Day Awadola. Really, these ladies, Marsha Arunga. I mean, I could go on and on because really they have really poured into me.
And that's fantastic that you can go on and on.
Exactly. And again, another showcasing of what our community really is and why it's so important that people have that support and that those connections exist. And I see that clip, and I remember the first time seeing that clip, and I remember I got so fired up. I'm just like, you guys have a trend. You guys get out there into the fight. But I think that so much of this, and when we think about a John Lewis, a Fannie Lou Hamer, honestly, what resonates for me is what they said way back then still resonates today. What they were fighting for back then is what caused this uprising today. So much of it is so similar. So I love being fueled and learning about our history and how we can really push things forward to make some sustainable change, because they were calling for it back then.
Right. Well, America is very much a work in progress, but this progress will only work when people get involved. And 100%, and that's what we've been talking about here on the Morning Update Show for a long time. Citizen stakeholders in our city and definitely right here in our county just need to get involved wherever they're at in this, whatever their viewpoint is and everything else. We have to stop outsourcing accountability. We have to stop outsourcing leadership. We have to stop taking leadership off of autopilot. Oh yeah, they're gonna handle it, this and that. You can't. You wake up in the 24th hour here. You be like, man, what happened? Right. What's going on? Right. So we need to all be vigilant in the process. Speaking of the process, reached out to city council members. We got a few replies. We're gonna give it a little bit more time. Got an email last night though. It was like 1:30 in the morning. Got an email. Of course, I'm still up. And a guy was like, "Who do you think you are to make demands on the city council?" And I was like, well, one, it was a demand. It was a request. Believe me, there's a long list of demands out here in the city. You see what I'm saying? Everybody has demands. It's a request. And it's not who I think I am. It's who we, the people, think that we are. We, the people, just want some transparency. Yes. And so it's not that Omari thinks that, oh, who are me, this and that. I mean, this is an effort for transparency that's really going to benefit the whole city. We're asking on behalf of our community. Yes. We're like, man, our community needs to know, like, man, what's going on? But that information will benefit everybody in the Emerald City. And it's not uncommon. If you look at all these kind of big issues, especially look at these very big things that are going on the mayor, the city council makes decisions on, it's not uncommon to be, Mayor Durkin, well, who are you guys talking to about this? Or, maybe they want to build something X, Y, and Z. But what experts have you talked to? They tore down the viaduct. Question, what experts told you that it's going to be, that this is the way to go, and what options are and everything else? So it's just very much part of our democratic process here to ask our elected officials to be accountable to we the people. So it's not who Omari thinks he is. We have a platform that represents we the people of the Central District and the Emerald City as a whole. So.
Absolutely, and ultimately, once again, I will not be having my stake on autopilot, having my accountability on autopilot, and we the people have, this is a growing sentiment here. People don't feel well informed from their elected officials, appointed officials, officials in general, authorities, entities of authority or positions of power. Unfortunately, there is a growing sentiment here. And look, she was talking about it there. It was for a handful, by a handful. That same sentiment is here alive and well when you're holding meetings with a handful and then making decisions with a handful for the masses. It's not going to work. We definitely need the transparency, and I love that you have been asking for that from the city council.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not asking for anything beyond that, and I'm definitely not disrespectful, calling anybody out of their name, calling anybody, it's just real straightforward. We just want to know what's going on. Before we get out of here, Triana, like I said, we'll monitor this situation up there at Cal Anderson Park. Like I said, there's an occupation occurring right there at the shelter area by a group of, homeless, unhoused, transitional people that are there, as well as some advocacy groups that are assisting them. Last night, the police, at least the group that were occupying the space, they said the police told them that they were going to be swept out by 11 a.m. Bobby Stills had called in the top of the show. They were still there. This is an interesting situation here, though, for the city of Seattle. Is like, is the superintendent of parks going to come over there? Is the head of human services going to go over there? Are they going to deploy their social workers and their social services over there? Or is it going to be SPD push these people out the park? Most likely they're going to return anyway, at some point in time. So, important decisions to be made. Are we still there? Oh, okay, there it is. Important decision. In real time, I think the city, all of us here can kind of follow along in this discussion of what we're talking about. And this is one of the things that people talked about going into defund and everything else is like, how do we deal with homeless? Do you take the police away from navigation team? Do you insert, social services and all those kinds of. Well, maybe we'll see it how it all works out up there at Cal Anderson Park. We'll see if any outside groups that maybe provide services for marginalized communities will go and interject themselves. We'll see if Human Services does. We'll see what Parks' position is, because the shelter there, that area, clearly it falls underneath the Parks Department. So we'll follow it and kind of see what happens, because this situation right here is a situation that goes directly into this dynamic that we've been talking about with community, social services, human services, and police.
Absolutely. And we've talked a lot to so many different people that are doing this work on the ground. And there really are some community solutions. There really are groups that do this work. And again, the whole talk and the general discourse around defund and getting those resources into the communities and institutions that are more capable, in a sense, to respond to those calls. This is an opportunity to showcase what that looks like. I'm really hoping that the Seattle Police can work with community groups and, like you said, human services and even city officials that are responsible for this work.
I think that in this situation here, I mean, sitting up there on that hill all this time, I'm sure the police don't want to have to go over. You know what I'm saying? They don't. I can't speak for the police, but I'm sure they don't want to have to go over there and sweep people out the park. For me, it really seems like human services and parks should be trying to make a plan. And that probably SPD would be the last resort. as opposed to the first resort. I mean, I'm sure that there's brilliant people over in Parks. Human Services, this is exactly what they do. Then there's all these organizations that are out there in the community.
Yep.
I'm pretty certain they're not anxious to just move people. And let's just see how this plays out up there on Capitol Hill.
Another thing for us to follow. We'll see how it goes.
All right, about that time. We're over time, but
Yeah,
I think
that's
that was
good.
important that we
Yeah, that was.
had this discussion. What's cracking, Seattle? Yeah, we get it cracking around here. All right, any programming notes? We're good for today. So in that case, you'll catch us tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. You got anything else to say?
Yeah, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m.
All right, this is the morning update show. Peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Sing it again now. The victory is won. Victory is won. Victory is won.